Heartbreak was woven into the very fabric of Janis Joplin's existence. Yet from that pain emerged one of rock music's most powerful and uninhibited voices. Born January 19, 1943, in Port Arthur, Texas, she became the premier white female blues vocalist of the 1960s. Before we go deeper, a moment. The human side of legendary lives deserves to be remembered. And if you agree, subscribe to Evergreen Token, dazzling listeners with her fierce and uninhibited musical style. This small-town girl would transform into a cultural icon who challenged every convention about femininity, vulnerability, and rock and roll itself. Janis Lyn Joplin entered the world in Port Arthur, a conservative oil refinery town on the Texas Gulf Coast, where conformity was valued above all else. Her father, Seth Ward Joplin, worked as an engineer for Texaco, while her mother, Dorothy Benita East Joplin, served as a registrar at a business college. The Joplin household valued education and respectability, creating an environment that would soon clash dramatically with their eldest daughter's rebellious spirit. From childhood, Janis displayed an intense sensitivity that set her apart from her peers. She was intelligent and artistic, but these qualities became sources of torment in a community that prized conventional behavior. Her younger siblings, Laura and Michael, watched as Janis endured relentless bullying at Thomas Jefferson High School, where her unconventional appearance and outspoken nature made her a target. The cruelty was profound and lasting. Classmates called her names, threw things at her, and made her daily existence a nightmare. Years later, reflecting on these formative experiences, she would say that Port Arthur had taught her that being different meant being punished. This early trauma would fuel both her artistic passion and her lifelong struggle with belonging and self-worth. Academically gifted, Janis enrolled at Lamar State College of Technology in Beaumont, Texas, before transferring to the University of Texas at Austin in 1962. It was in Austin's vibrant folk music scene that she first discovered her calling, performing at Threadgill's Bar and other local venues where her powerful voice began to attract attention. Austin's music scene in the early 1960s provided Janis with her first taste of artistic community. At Threadgill's, a converted gas station turned honky-tonk, she discovered artists like Leadbelly, Bessie Smith, and Big Mama Thornton, whose raw emotional power would profoundly influence her developing style. These weren't just musical influences, they were revelations about how pain could be transformed into transcendent art. Her first significant musical partnership came through the folk music revival sweeping college campuses. She began performing with local musicians, her voice already showing the bluesy rasp that would become her signature. Unlike the polished folk singers of the era, Janis sang with an abandon that seemed to come from someplace primal and unguarded, with the Waller Creek Boys, a local folk group. Though these early recordings would remain obscure, they captured a young artist discovering the power of her own voice. Her performances at local venues began drawing larger crowds, not just for her vocal ability, but for the raw emotional connection she created with audiences. The folk scene also introduced her to the lifestyle that would both liberate and ultimately destroy her. Drinking became a significant part of her persona, and she experimented with various drugs. For Janis, these substances weren't just recreational, they were ways of numbing the pain that had followed her from Port Arthur and finding the courage to be vulnerable on stage. By 1965, feeling overwhelmed by both her lifestyle and the limited opportunities in Austin, Janis made the decision to return to Port Arthur. This homecoming was intended as a reset, a chance to clean up her life and perhaps find a more conventional path. She enrolled at Lamar University, attempted to moderate her appearance and behavior, and even got engaged to a local man. What is certain is that she left Port Arthur feeling further alienated from her classmates, her parents, and her hometown. The attempt at conformity lasted only a year. In 1966, Chet Helms, a former Austin friend who had moved to San Francisco, called with an opportunity that would change everything. A psychedelic rock band called Big Brother and the Holding Company needed a female vocalist, and Helms thought Janis would be perfect. San Francisco in 1966 was the epicenter of a cultural revolution. Big Brother and the Holding Company consisted of Peter Albin on bass, Sam Andrew on guitar, Dave Getz on drums, and James Gurley on lead guitar. They were competent musicians, but Janis's voice transformed them into something extraordinary. Though popular in the Bay Area's underground scene, they hadn't yet found the spark that would set them apart. Immersed in the swirling, rebellious energy of San Francisco's Haight-Ashbury, Janis finally felt at home. With her arrival, Big Brother's sound evolved from experimental to electrifying, and together they would soon ignite a cultural explosion that redefined the sound and spirit of American rock. Their first major breakthrough came at the Monterey Pop Festival in June 1967, where Janis Joplin delivered a soul-searing performance of Ball and Chain that became the stuff of legend.
Tell me why, what to me why, oh people tell me why love, honey what love is like, well it's like a ball and in a chain.
Clad in psychedelic colors, with her hair wild and untamed, she moved like someone possessed, channeling years of heartbreak, alienation, and defiance into a few minutes of unfiltered emotional release. The audience sat stunned before erupting in thunderous applause. The performance catapulted Janis into the national spotlight. That seismic moment led to a recording contract. Their 1968 album, Cheap Thrills, became a commercial triumph. Though marketed as a live album, only Ball and Chain was recorded in front of an audience. The remaining songs were recorded in studio, with crowd noises added for atmosphere. Still, the energy was undeniable. The album featured Piece of My Heart, a cover of Irma Franklin's original, which Janis transformed into her own anthem, tearing through the vocals with such intensity that it left no doubt she was born to sing the blues. Every performance during this period was steeped in profound emotional honesty. She became known not only as a white woman with the vocal ferocity often reserved for black blues and soul singers, but as an artist who brought a vulnerable, distinctly feminine rage to the stage, something rarely seen in rock and roll before her. By 1968, Janis had emerged as the uncontested star of Big Brother and The Holding Company, but success came at a cost. Critics lauded her vocals while often downplaying the musicianship of her bandmates, creating a rift that could no longer be ignored. Albert Grossman, famed for managing Bob Dylan, took over Janis's career and encouraged her to go solo, where she could exert full creative control and explore new musical dimensions. The decision to leave Big Brother was painful. These musicians had been her artistic family, her anchor during the transformation from outsider to icon. But Janis understood her vision was expanding and it demanded a broader musical palette. In late 1968, she made the difficult break. She formed the Cosmic Blues Band, a new ensemble that leaned into soul, R&B, and horn-driven arrangements. A familiar face, Sam Andrew, joined her from Big Brother, along with musicians like Terry Clements on saxophone. Their album, I Got Them Old Cosmic Blues Again, Mama, was released in 1969, and critics were divided. Some missed the rawness of her earlier work, but commercially, the album performed well. Still, Janis struggled. Though the new band was technically tighter, the chemistry wasn't the same. The fire was dimmed. Her performances remained powerful, but at times felt calculated rather than spontaneous. Behind the scenes, Janis was grappling with the isolating weight of fame, mounting pressure, and growing substance use. Her set at Woodstock in August 1969, widely anticipated, was hampered by technical issues and a lack of connection with the Cosmic Blues Band. It wasn't the transcendent moment she craved. She delivered, but by her own standards, the magic wasn't there. She was at a creative crossroads, still chasing the perfect balance between professionalism and passion. That search finally ended in 1970 when she formed the Full Tilt Boogie Band, her last and arguably finest group. This lineup, John Till on guitar, Richard Bell on piano, Ken Pearson, Brad Campbell on bass, and Clark Pearson on drums, offered everything she'd been looking for: musical sophistication, emotional intuition, and a shared fire. The chemistry was immediate and electric. Together, they began crafting what would become Pearl, the most fully realized work of Janis's too brief career. In the final chapter of her life, Janis began recording what would become her most celebrated work. Sessions started in late September 1970, with producer Paul A. Rothchild best known for his work with The Doors, helming the project. Tragically, Janis died of a heroin overdose on October 4th, 1970, before the album was finished. Despite this, Pearl became a defining statement, an album that continues to appear on lists of the greatest records of all time. Pearl captured Janis at the height of her power. Her vocals were more controlled, yet emotionally devastating. One of the album's crown jewels was her rendition of Me and Bobby McGee, a song written by Chris Christopherson and Fred Foster. Janis transformed the country folk ballad into a wrenching blues rock anthem, layered with longing, weariness, and a defiant hopefulness. It became her only #1 hit, topping the Billboard Hot 100 in March 1971, several months after her death. In her final recordings, Janis co-wrote just one song, the hauntingly minimalist track Mercedes-Benz, composed spontaneously with beat poet Michael McClure during a barroom writing session. Her love life was as complex as her music. She had a brief engagement to Peter DeBlanc in 1965, but it ended as her career began to take off. In San Francisco, she dated Country Joe McDonald, frontman of Country Joe and the Fish, though their relationship was more personal than professional. On October 4th, 1970, 4 years and 4 months after she bolted from Austin, she was found in her room at the Landmark Motor Hotel in Hollywood, clad in a nightgown, by her road manager John Cook when she failed to appear for a scheduled recording session. The toxicology report revealed she had consumed heroin that was significantly more potent than what she was accustomed to using. The medical examiner determined that the cause of death was acute heroin intoxication combined with alcohol, ruling it an accidental overdose. Following her wishes, Janis was cremated, and her ashes were scattered from a small airplane over the Pacific Ocean near Stinson Beach in Marin County, California. In the end, Janis Joplin achieved the acceptance and understanding she had always sought, not from the small Texas town that had rejected her, but from the wider world that recognized her as an artist of extraordinary power and authenticity. Her legacy reminds us that the very qualities that make someone different or difficult can also be the source of their greatest contributions to the world, and that true artistry often emerges from the willingness to transform personal pain into something beautiful and universal. Regardless of how one feels about Janis Joplin's raw, hair-raising vocals, it's impossible to deny the feeling that surges when her signature wail spills out of a needle-worn 45 single. That small record, 2 songs pressed in fragile grooves, still holds a universe. Listen closely to the low bass line, filling your being with chills as it leads you forward, before the guitar raises its voice in melodic steps, drifting higher and lower, perfectly framing the slow rasp of summertime. In that experience alone, for me, Janis wasn't just the queen of rock. She was living proof that music can bruise and heal at the same time. If you believe stories like hers deserve to be remembered with care, I invite you to subscribe to Evergreen Token, where each week we honor the lives and legacies that still move us today.